Hello, my name is Michael Garrett, and this is Popping Culture Movie Reviews. My guest today is Tanner Carley. He's a comedian, musician, and songwriter. Thank you so much for coming on to the movie review.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate
Uh,
it.
the movie that we'll be reviewing, not COVID, um, is Good Will Hunting. Tanner
Oof.
chose the movie. Before we get into it, this will be a 100% spoiler review. But before we spoil the movie, Tanner, do you think they should watch it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Uh, for me, this movie really opened my eyes to uh, what a person can be with with a lot of dynamic. You can, and it also tells you that it's okay to just be a simple guy who with a lot of intelligence. So I related with that, especially coming from a town that I graduated with like 70 kids in my class. So it was nice.
Okay, guys, we'll get to this movie in a second. You
Yeah.
graduated with 70 people in your class.
Yeah. And about 15 of them probably shouldn't have graduated, but they pushed them through. I came from
I,
a very small town.
bro, when I say I am so jealous, no, in South Carolina, I have a lot of friends that told me like they graduated from a class of like less than 100 people. My
Yeah.
class was 354 people. I
Wow.
was I was 38 in my class. I did the statistics. Like if I had a class of 70 people, I could have been top 10. I could have got
Oh
some
yeah.
I could have got some scholarships.
Yeah, man. You got to move to a small town and you really can just make some waves because there's not much going on out there,
Oh,
really.
trust me, if my stepson doesn't get the grades we think he should make,
Yeah.
come straight to a small town. Be like, buddy, you can be
Yeah.
number five.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be number one. I mean, I
Yeah,
think there was like five number ones. They were just like, you guys all are doing great. All right, let's move on.
nice. Yeah, yeah. Get out of this town. Get out.
Yeah,
All right,
basically.
cool, cool. All right, guys. Everything past this point is 100% spoilers. Taryn, I'll let you start off.
All right. Goodwill Hunting. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. They're two young guys out to make some waves in the Hollywood, really. And they wrote a script together. And I don't know the influences into the script, but I know that they sat down and wrote the entire script. Got some amazing, casted some amazing actors like Robin Williams and a few other really great actors that aren't as popular today. So I don't really know their names, but yeah, they put together a dynamic of a film with Matt Damon uh, being the lead role, and Ben Affleck being his best friend. There are some small, not really small town, but uh, they lived in the city and didn't really have much going for them, except for Matt Damon's character really was just that intelligent guy that knew everything he needed to know, but he had no one that really loved him growing up. So he just knew that he loved his best friends, and he wanted to crack some cold ones at the end of the day, and they always had his back and he had theirs, and that's all that really mattered to him. And I think he could really see through the bullshit of the world at the time, and he was just like, I don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather just be a part of these guys because I know what to expect. And so yeah, do you want me to go into like the plot of the movie or just how it like plays out?
Whatever you want, man. It's 100% spoilers.
All right. All right. So, they start out just, you could tell this guy, he knew something that most people didn't know. By the way he acted, by the way his like body language was throughout the film. And then, he was famously just a janitor at a college, and one of the professors was putting, problems on a blackboard outside of his classroom, and it was extra credit if you could figure it out. But of course, it was some incredibly difficult mathematics that he would casually just walk up to and solve the problem, and no one could figure out who was solving these problems. And he didn't want any of the recognition for it. He just did it because he enjoyed it, and I feel like it was some truth to his life that was a mess that he couldn't figure out. Uh, so it was therapeutic for his character. Once the professor found out it was him, at first they thought he was just messing with the chalkboard and like fucking with it. And then they found out he was the one who was actually solving the problems, and they needed to find out who it was because he was basically a prodigy, especially since he was a janitor. and didn't have any formal education before that. He was in and out of juvenile detention and jail, and he really just had rage within him because he was abused, and I think he was a foster kid for a while, and he just was troubled. But he had some friends that had his back, and he just kept moving forward with that. Uh, Once he did start working with the professor could see that there was something going on with him, like that he wasn't fully happy. So he said on one condition, like basically, okay, backtrack a little bit. Matt Damon's character got in a brawl with some friends, and they beat up another group of friends, not their friends, but another group of guys. That the whole point of this brawl was that the other group of guys had picked on Matt Damon's character back when he was in fourth grade. So very minute issue, and he was just like he just found a reason to get in a fight. So he was like he would jump on any reason to fight someone. So he ends up ruthlessly beating the shit out of some people and getting taken to jail. And the judge knew him by name. He knew that he was smart, but he wasn't letting him off easy this time, because Matt Damon would show up to the courtroom knowing exactly what to say to get himself off of any charges. But the judge was smart enough to just know, like, he needs to learn his lesson this time. So he was going to throw him in jail, and the professor was going to basically vouch for him and said, "Let me take him under my wing, and I'll pay for him to get some therapy." They go through a bunch of therapists, and Matt Damon's character was just a little bit too keen on what the therapists were doing, so he would just kind of play with them and kind of psych them out mentally, until obviously they find a offbeat, not even therapist, just a psychology teacher who Robin Williams plays, and they're like, "You need to talk to this guy. You need to talk to Matt Damon's character and see if you can figure this guy out." And through unorthodox therapy, they became friends and enemies at the same time, with a dynamic which they kind of despised each other, but also both of them were impressed by one another, and were completely I don't know, just they wanted to figure each other out, but at the same time they wanted nothing to do with each other because they scared each other. Matt Damon's character could see right through Robin Williams, and Robin Williams could see right through him. And neither of them liked that, because they were both so smart that they were always on the outside looking in of like society and everyone else. Um, but the difference is that Robin Williams' character was already old. He has seen a lot. He watched his wife grow old and die in front of him. And Matt Damon was just intelligent based off books and pure. He was just a genius. So it was a match made in heaven, really.
Yeah.
You couldn't really beat that.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was cool,
yeah,
very cool just to see them act together.
exactly.
Like
There was
it was just cool. I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
no,
you off.
no, no. Keep cutting me off. I mean, I could
Man,
ramble on. I could ramble. I can ramble all day. And
understand, buddy.
yeah,
Just to see Robin Williams act
yeah.
was great. Just to see him act.
Oh yeah,
Understand that, like, I'm 29. How old are you?
25.
25. We're close to the same age. Do you
Yeah.
remember a movie called Flubber?
Yes.
That was
Oh
my
yeah.
that was my first time, like, I can recall ever seeing Robin
Watching.
Williams. Yeah,
He's a joker. So
yeah,
he's just a silly guy.
yeah. And I just remember, even being young, being like, This isn't good."
Right. Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like,
You're
to see the whole catalog, I take that back. The first movie I saw with Robin Williams was Popeye,
okay.
and still not a good movie, but just to see, like, this guy really given the right material, he's good.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
once you
yeah.
give him the right material, and in this movie, like, I think he won an Oscar. He definitely deserved to win an Oscar. Matt Damon Matt Damon's Matt Damon. Ben Affleck's Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
they're just amazing. Um, the backtrack. How did you feel about the music in this movie?
It was it they found a music score that just fit the music or fit the film perfectly. Uh they brought you kind of similar feelings to just like nostalgic, emotional. Like you could, for me, I could feel how they felt through the music score.
Yes.
And I do want to say, when I watched this movie, I was kind of dealing with a lot. My sister had just gotten a car accident,
Oh
and
wow, I'm
it was a
sorry to
very,
hear that.
oh, it's all good. She's perfectly fine now. This is obviously many years ago, but uh I was waiting up at night because she was in the emergency room and I just couldn't sleep. So I was just watching it. I think I started watching it at midnight and then ended at 3 in the morning. So it hit me a little bit different. And it definitely kind of shaped the way I viewed love, which was good and bad, because obviously movies are movies and they they portray an art, not what real life really is. But they did a good job at keeping some realism in there as well. But it was just super impactful in that moment because I was already feeling down, and then it brought me to like a state of not. I was like still sad by the end of the movie, but it was like a good sad. It wasn't like, oh man, I just want to cry or anything. It was more um like, it's gonna be okay, but it's not gonna be easy, you know. So it was nice. It definitely hit home, and I related a lot with Matt Damon's character. I think a lot of people have. I'm not the only one, but
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
yeah, it was just really nice to feel that. And I was growing up personally. I mean, I'm getting a little personal with this podcast, but I always felt like an outsider looking in. I still do, man. I don't feel like a comedian. I don't feel like a musician. I feel like a guy who's just like imitating them. And a lot of people also feel that. And it's okay to feel that way. And once you learn that it's okay, then it's a lot easier to accept that, hey, I am a little bit of this. But yeah, it's a great movie. With that being said, and you can't. It was another two friends coming together, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, just came together and wrote this script out of pure, not really angst, but it was just pure emotion, whatever emotion they were feeling. They wanted to make it, for one. Obviously, everyone wants to make it in whatever you're doing. So they had this drive,
Yep.
and it showed that they really brought it to the script, and it really transcended them into like Hollywood. They were just nobodies, and now they were just somebodies overnight, like winning Oscars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the love story was amazing. There was dynamics between every character. It didn't matter which character you're watching in that movie. There was a whole dynamic to them. There's a silent character that is Matt Damon's friend. He doesn't really say much at all, but he's like an Irish guy with curly red hair, and you could relate with him if you wanted to. Just the way that guy acted, there was no line wasted. Every
Mm.
line was well written and well acted. It was
Yes.
displayed perfectly.
How did you
They
feel
had
about the pacing?
they did a great job too with that. Obviously, I love the movie, so I'm going to say it's great. But like, there's a lot of great movies nowadays, but back then they took their time in unfolding a story, and you didn't really know what was going on for a little while. You knew this guy was upset. You knew he liked this girl. You knew that he was going to see this weird therapist that's unorthodox, but you didn't really know what was going to happen. And a lot of times people like to know what's going to happen, so it throws them off. And this movie keeps you guessing. You're not sure how it's going to unfold. You just know he has some crazy friends that he loves to death, and a girl that he has never felt this way about a girl until now. And he's gonna he's wild himself. He's been abused. He was terribly abused, and he's just looking for some answers that he doesn't. The only answers he didn't know was how to live his life. He knew everything else, but he didn't know how to live his own life, and that's part of the dynamic to the whole show.
I agree. I agree. Um, When it came to the ending, did you like the way they wrapped everything up?
I really did. You know, as sad as I felt still for Robin Williams, because I'm just a sappy guy sometimes. You know, obviously he still was just a widowed man, if you want to say that. But he knew that he made he made a connection with a young man that he's seen part of himself in, and the fact that he was able to encourage him to make more of himself, and the fact that his friends, even though his Matt Damon's friends were like just kind of some hard-headed, just good old boys that just did some construction, which I related with too. And I grew up with like my entire family does construction, just some good old boys. And they told him, they're like, you're better than what you're letting yourself be. So you really need to go out there and make something of yourself, because we're going to be here. We're always going to be building these buildings. We're always going to be like breaking up concrete blocks, stacking up some wood. Like you're actually a guy that could make something of himself more than just this. And if you don't do that, like what what is the point of anything? Like you need to go do this. So the fact that everyone just kind of came together, and even though his friends weren't like, I guess, the the most sophisticated people, they were able to realize that and tell him to go pursue that. It made you feel like that it's going to be okay, and the fact that like your family really has your back at the end of the day, and they don't have to be blood. Your family doesn't have to be blood. It could be anybody. So that wrapped a lot, brought a lot of sense to my life. And I know that I had a really close group of friends, and I still do. And it made me keep them close for not just that movie solely, but it definitely put a little idea in my head that, hey, these guys are worth it. And it's good to keep friends close and family close. And but yeah, the ending of the movie, especially, I remember the scene where he's just driving off, the very last scene. I wanted a poster of that for the longest time, just that photo, because just the feeling of that like sunset or sunrise, whichever one it was. And he had that old car that his friends like put together for him, even though it was a piece of shit. They're like, it's something, it's something for you to get out there. Uh, and he was told just to go after it, go find that girl. And as cheesy as it can be, like sometimes it's nice to eat a lot of cheese, because what's the point of living life if you're not feeling some like silly emotions sometimes? You got to keep it real during your professional work hours, but let's keep the fun in life and be a little cheesy every once in a while.
It was cheesy, but it never went like Hallmark cheesy. Like it
Yeah,
was
there was
still good.
exactly. There was no like look backs, like where they're like looking at each other like I love you or anything like that. It was cheesy in the sense of like this wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? But they kept it pretty real. And whoever did, I don't know who did the cinematography, but they did an amazing job with the
Yeah.
colors and like just the shots in general, and capturing the emotion of just the show itself or the movie.
When it comes to the time of the year that this movie is filmed in, do you think that helped the film also?
Was it one time of the year, or did they go through a couple? It's been a while since I rewatched it. I watched it like probably like 5 times, but it's been a while.
I believe they went through a couple, but each one they
Okay.
kind of worked out with the
What?
scenes.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think it was fall time when they're sitting on the bench and Robin Williams was like ripping his ass a new one. You know what I mean? That's like telling him like, you don't know shit. If you like, I know you're a genius. Everyone knows you're a genius, but you don't have any experience with real life. You're afraid to actually have real experiences, and you're just like making yourself be an outsider because you think you're already smarter than everybody. But really, experience is what you need that too, as well as just like pure intelligence. So the fall time helped with that, because I feel like a lot of people like the fall for that nostalgic feeling, and nostalgia fits kind of that a little bit angst and sadness in that scene, because you felt bad for Robin Williams because he was angry, and you didn't want him to feel angry, and you felt bad for Matt Damon because he was like getting one umps, but it was needed to happen. And I don't know, when fall comes around, I always have a feeling of a little bit of sadness and a little bit of hope at the same time. So it's like, coming around to the end of the year, but the New Year's right there too.
Yep, exactly. Um, 1 through 10, man. What would you give this movie,
I would have to give it a solid 9. I would give it a 9 based off just what I felt when I was younger and how it impacted my life. I would say a 9. Everyone should go watch it at least once. Uh, it's tough watching movies again once you're older. I know I've watched a lot of movies nowadays that I've watched when I was younger. I'm like, man, that hit different, but it's still worth it. And even if you find things cheesy, don't let that stop you from enjoying it.
bro? Bro. When I say you just told the truth, I saw Doctor Doolittle again.
Yeah,
Not that good.
yeah.
Not
With
that good. I
Eddie
was
Murphy, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah.
oh man, I remember this being a classic, and now it's like Disney can keep this in the vault. Like this is, I was like, this is not what I remember.
Oh
I
man.
I asked all my guests this. Do you believe that this movie will become a part or has become a part of pop culture?
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's how do you like them apples? How do you like them apples? Like that was you can't do better than that. You know, I without context, people don't know what I'm saying. But watch the movie and you'll know what I'm saying. And when you see that scene, you're gonna feel that guy who is the underdog, and then he gets to almost not really revenge, but just like without any physical violence or anything, just like pure wit and intelligence. Just like, look at this. I'm just as good as you. I don't have a degree myself. I'd love to have a college degree, but it's expensive, and that's kind of where that guy came from. He didn't come from much, so but he was still a smart guy. And you don't have to have a degree to be smart. And that's kind of what that whole scene developed. Like, hey, look at you think you're a lot smarter than me, but I'm the one who's winning right now. And yeah, how do you like them apples? Yeah, that changed that scene right there. Changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Bro, you're right. This movie has been parodied to death. And it's not till I watched the movie earlier today that I was like, oh, that's what Robot Chicken was doing. That was Family Guy was doing. That's what The Simpsons. Like, I
Yep.
was just like, oh, like this, yeah, it's been parodied. And I was just like, oh,
Yep.
now these jokes make sense.
Yep.
Um,
So you can't beat it. Go watch it. Robin Williams is a killer in that movie. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I still think that's their best performances, and it's because it came from such a genuine spot in their heart. They were nothing before that movie, and I mean they were obviously they knew who they were, but you have to remember who you are, and whether people know it or not, just just you can keep it a secret or you can show the world, but just know who you are and put it all out there when you're ready. And that's what they did. They found their timing and they put it together, and it was honestly a DIY project that made it big. So
yeah, man, was it weird? I mean, you say you saw when last time you saw the movie?
I think the last time I rewatched it was probably like 2 years ago. But
Okay.
it's I mean I still enjoyed it then, but it just hit uh a certain way the first time I watched it.
For me, it was like it was not funny, but it was
Yeah.
different to see like slim Ben Affleck, just because now we
Yeah.
have Batman Ben Affleck, like this
Yeah.
stocky fella, you know.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh wow, he wasn't not normal size. He was still a bigger fella, but he was not like what he is now, you
Yeah.
know.
and I think it's fair to say that like I enjoy a lot of his movies nowadays, but I think it's fair to say even though his character was supposed to be like the cool guy, he did a good job at like all the characters that he plays now. It seems like are like these tough guys, like the leading male, but he did that character without like trying to like be cool. It was corny. He knew he was being a corny guy that is like the cool guy on the block basically, but he delivered it perfectly. And you don't have to act cool to be cool. It's how you do it that is cool. Whether you're being a corny guy or a funny guy, it's how you do something that makes it cool to other people. And cool is not a great descriptive word, but um I mean it's how like if you deliver a joke perfectly and then say like, see, I'm a funny guy. See, I made that joke. I'm a funny guy. You don't have to describe it. Just be funny and people understand. If you want to be the cool guy, don't try to tell people, oh, I'm really cool. Watch this. Just do it and just let it sit. And whether they understand it or not, it doesn't matter. And that's what's cool about it, because you don't really need other people to understand it. You just know. And then without a doubt, someone will get it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, man, thank you for coming on to the movie review.
no
Is there
problem.
anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Yeah, come out to live shows, stand up, music. I know everything. The world is kind of scary right now. People are hiding things that they don't want to show, emotions, a lot of other things. But when you're ready, come out and watch some live performances, and it'll change your life. The energy in those rooms, whether it's music, comedy, magic, who knows, whatever you're into, go do it. If you want to try it yourself, go do it. If you want to be a person that doesn't want to have a bunch of hobbies, that's fine too. Whatever makes you happy, just be yourself. As corny as that is, just be yourself. Try your best, and what makes you happy, follow that. And if it's not a lot, that's okay. Um, and try to influence others to be better. That's about
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Nice. Where can they follow you on social media?
Underscore Ames Russell on Instagram. Um, yeah, that's really the only social media I have. I don't really do much else, but I post some funny things here and there. It's kind of subtle humor. I'm not posting daily or anything, but you'll laugh here and there. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
All right. Thank you again for coming on to the movie review. And you guys have an amazing day.
yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.